it's really not clear cut. I think in the near term, even not talking about after graduation, for people who are not graduated yet, as their campus has shut down, their decision about whether to return to China or stay on campus is still a very, very fraught one. And I think on my home campus, few students have already left. A majority of students are left behind. They're still staying on campus. As of now, the university has actually encouraged them to leave. And what makes this decision very contentious is it's both very costly and risky to travel, as you can well imagine. The ticket now has amounted to tens of thousands of RMB, and it's extremely hard to get a ticket. I think a lot of students, especially their parents, tens of thousands of miles away, they're extremely anxious and worried. Yes, it has been. There has been reports, various universities that Chinese students were shunned, they were avoided. Um, there's, there was definitely a stigma. Discussions about those stigma and Chinese students' anxieties about those stigma are pretty pervasive online. And you can see that there are various examples that are widely circulated. And I think for a lot of the students, they're actually, to some extent, they're caught in between sort of this kinds of the clashes of different signals that Chinese society and American society have instructed them to do. I'll give you one example. In terms of wearing facial mask, there is a huge difference in terms of what they're told in China. Even though for some of them, they're not physically in China, they're told by their parents. They're exposed to Chinese media, all those kinds of images and news from China. Everyone has this mandate to wear a facial mask. Facial mask is going to help you for the basic safety. But here, from the experts to the university and people around you, few people wear facial masks. If you're wearing it, people are thinking you're sick. So sociologists call that a double bind. They're caught in this double bind situation. They want to wear it because they're influenced by their Chinese community and their parents. And some parents actually call them and plead them to wear facial masks. But they're very concerned how they're going to be perceived by their American friends and their classmates and their community. And ultimately, I think as a piece of knowledge, they're very confused of what to do. What American higher education can do at this point, I think, is to provide the best support they can. I know that they're pretty stretched thing already, but still, I think it's very important to provide the kind of support they can to the current Chinese international students in various ways, academically, psychologically, socially, to send the positive signal to them and their parents and students who are looking at the current situation, thinking about their future plan in China. What I want to point out is oftentimes Chinese students are caught in these cross-cultural differences in behaving. Coronavirus is one specific context that, as I said, in terms of the expectation to wear facial mask, that is one specific example of behavior. But other types of behaviors, for example, classroom behaviors, in terms of raising questions, how to interact with American professors, how to participate in classroom discussions. In my book, I emphasize that classroom participation goes well beyond language proficiency. It's not that for some of them, probably yes, their English is the major barrier, but for a lot of them, English is not the barrier. Culture is the barrier. Education system is the barrier. That's actually what I've been researching in my book, and is a big part of my book, is that these cross-national, cross-educational differences really cause a lot of anxieties and make them don't really know how to behave. That is a great question. I don't really know. I think that really this provides a great opportunity to collect data, and I think for this is going to be a big challenge, not just for Chinese students, but for everyone, American students, American professors. But what specific challenges or unique challenges Chinese international students are going to have, I think American higher education, their teachers, American administrators are going to be better off to know of those differences so that they can provide better support to the students. I think I have to make a disclaimer here that my book has not really included anything about the virus. It was published in December 2019, so it was really prior to virus age. But there is a chapter in my book that is looking at this specific question in terms of their future planning. So before the virus, my study has shown that 60% of Chinese undergraduate students in America plan to return to China for work. But a majority of still a majority of them actually wanted to study graduate school here in America and then go back to China. So that's before the virus kick in, and that's their planning for the future back then. So with the virus, I really don't really have any sort of scientific data or evidence to report on, but I think it definitely will make their decision more difficult. So I think in the near term, there's definitely would be some kinds of a diminishing or declining enrollments because of various reasons. People are not only concerned about safety, about travel, but also about economic downturn that totally diminish their capacity to pay for the higher education. The economy for American, we can see that, the stock market has plummeted. For the Chinese economy is also devastating. A lot of small business owners, and they're struggling to pay for their current students enrolling in American higher education already. So I think in the near term, the effect is pretty obvious that we're going to have a downturn. But in the long term, I'm not really that pessimistic. I think the desire for American higher education is still very strong, and China still has the largest middle class population in the world, and who is hungry for American higher education.